So the title of this video, as you can see, is 2 plus 2 does not equal 94. And this is based on a true story that has unfolded over 30 years in my life, right? And it's about the absurdity of human behavior, how reckless human behavior can get. And when I say error, see, I've interjected a note of forgiveness, right? Because if I really called it out as terribly as it could be called out, I would use stronger words, awful, evil, really harsh words. And I don't want to do that because part of my growth over that 30 years, right? This little image will show at some point, is that I developed compassion, right? That's to take a strong stand and to have compassion. And my compassion says that I'm calling this historically insane set of actions over 30 an error. Okay, when I say an error, and we have many well-educated, highly educated people, Harvard, Yale, all kinds of things, and all kinds of people came at me. And let me talk about the collective error, what it is and what it was. And it was this, and essentially this, that a kind of family dynamic began. Let's say one or two people, they develop jealousies, energy against someone, this kind of thing, and they start to go at another person. And all of a sudden, while there's snow outside, maybe the plows will drive by, is that like the snowball gathers steam as it goes down and becomes more and more, of a huge snowball, a figurative or at least an emotional avalanche, right? And it gathers steam. So this group energy starts to build, and people don't know why they're involved. Some people, one or two are at the core and they can hate or have rage towards somebody, but a lot of people don't even know why they're in it. It's like, hey, there's a sale at the supermarket. Let's run and go. And people just join in. And the snowball gathers storm and goes downhill, and we have this sense of avalanche, right? And then it's coupled with another level of errors that I've alluded to, which is that our, beloved American legal system, when I went in with a separation and divorce thing 30 years ago, has a lot of gaps in its, in its capability right now. It's a lot of gaps in understanding, being accurate and compassionate, as I lovingly encourage it to be. So, you get into, maybe it's the influence of lawyers, the whole thing. You can see America right now. We got people screaming, yelling, and everybody kind of want to get their viewpoint across. So, a lot of economic interest, political interest. Anyway, I was raised with a civil rights background from my family, and I was raised with grains of, of fairness within me. And when this thing hit, began to hit 30 years ago in my life, where people, coming at me, and then, errors in our court system in terms of evaluating, divorce and separation and children and all these kind of things. And my work was, for 20 years developing award-winning programs for youth, let alone my own children. So you get this whole ball of wax starts running and coming at me as a person, right? And it's coming at me. And look, if I didn't sustain for 30 years, right, and I didn't grow and change immeasurably, develop missions for the world, get stronger and better as a human being myself, it would have destroyed me. The level of animus and inaccuracy that came at me could have destroyed a person. There's no question. I don't know anything I know. It would have destroyed many people. And I'm not bragging. It's just that I had extraordinary sets of circumstances that encouraged me to fight appropriately for what I wanted to see. So I stood in there and took this stuff on, right? And I guess what I'm getting at, the 2 plus 2, the baseline accuracy of the people who came at me was as off base as 2 plus 2 equals 94. And yet when you have this huge crowd coming at you, you've got to really stand in there. And it's only through the course of 30 years, and for some of those years you're fighting back, and you're fighting back appropriately, And you're right, but you still, like, people are going to say, oh, it's just a fight going on. And so it's only when you get to the point, or gotten to the point of having, still demanding, requiring accountability, and still, but in interjecting fairness and compassion as well, to see those people who lost their head, like Jesus, someone said, forgive them because they know not what they do. When a group of people just, lose their head and just come at you, you say, I'm big enough to say I have some compassion for them, or I can see it as an error. And what I'm getting at, here's a key point with all of this, that why do people act so recklessly and fanatically? And it's because we have this fear-based, this sense of success people want to achieve. And I'm all for that, as you know. I applaud success. I want people, companies, families, and individuals to achieve success. And I want us to do it in a better way. And we can get, the notion of money and success out of the closet and say most people want it, most people want to do well. And yet we have to establish parameters and guidelines and integrity at the core. And this is my better way. And so out of the course of 30 years, not only was the things that came at me at the end as absurd as 2 + 2 = 94, I developed methodologies to help, magic potion, if you will, for companies, families, and individuals, and a better way for us to pursue and to achieve success. And that's what it's about. Because all that craziness comes about. People want to be known. People want success. All right. Let's ensue success, and let's do it appropriately. And that's what my work with Gentle Genius Coaching, that's what I stand for personally, is that we got to be rational. We got to do it in a better way. And that's what it's about. So those that came at me, as I say, were as valid in the end as 2 + 2 = 94. And yet the reason I say it's an error is because I want to allow people space to say it's an error. Let's correct ourselves. Let's do it a better way. Let's generally do it in a better way. And maybe even the people who were so voracious in coming at me can say, yeah, it's an error. Let's correct it. We all do well when we correct an error. Maybe not all can, but maybe most in that camp can. And that's what it's about. So this is a true story. I lived it for 30 years in a better way. And the absurdity of my critics was 2 + 2 = 94, which isn't right. And a better way came out of it. Thank you.